A recent post on the use of the array command has sparked some further inquiries, and there's a request for perhaps a more detailed explanation of how you might use the array command to do a polar array. And a polar array, of course, spins a block around a circle. So in this case, I have a block here, and if we edit that block and go in, there's a little bit of preliminary work needed to get a nice result. This is a rectangle, notice up here, at a height of 200 by 110. So it's a paving brick. But in addition to setting its colour and giving it a fill and giving it a border so that a dark line will show around the actual paving brick, in addition to that, we've given it some extra spacing information in quite a pale colour, colour 254. So if I use the distance command and measure from one side, that's 210. So the paving brick is 200, and 5mm offset at each end will allow the grouting to work well between it. And those numbers are important because they help us when we're going to run the polar command, the array command in polar. So we close the block editor now. So the design is for a garden owned by an artist, and she wants to put examples of her artwork on raised plinths here, and a nice ornate garden seat under the shade of a tree, and the seat is butting up against a raised planter bed with some azaleas in it. So how do we do the border around that paved area using the array command? So let's do it. Array is under modified drop down, array, and we first select the object. So we select this block, which we've worked hard on now to get it set up in the right way, and we hit enter when ready, and it's going to be a polar array. We then have to pick a center point, and for the center point of the array we're going to spin it around a circle. Either circle would work here. Let's take, I move near the circumference of that circle, and if you look over here we get a little highlight there. So we've said we're going to use a polar array. We've selected the object to array, it's a block, and we've picked a center point. The method we're going to use, notice that there are three of them. We're going to say an angle to fill, which it's clearly going to be 360, and then we have to make some estimate of the number of items that we're going to work with. Now you can roughly calculate that by, if we come back out of there, if we pick that circle there, we're going to array it around that circle, or we're going to, if we pick it, there's the block. Can you see that's the base point of the block? So it's going to be arrayed around the circle. If I pick the outer circle, the circumference is 10115, and we know from our previous measurements in the block that we've got 210. So if we divide 10115 by 210, we get something like 48.1. So it's going to be, as far as our number is concerned, we're going to need a number close to 48. So maybe we'll go 49. It's probably easier to eliminate things than to add them. So we've selected the object. I'm hoping that it's going to hold the base point, and number of items 49, 360, and we want to rotate them as they're copied because they're longer than they are wide, and we'll OK. And there we are. Now we didn't quite get our number correct, and So we need to remove those earlier ones and run that again. I won't bore you with the detail of removing these, so I'll just pause for the moment and do that. A quick way to eliminate those is to just use the undo button, and we'll leave that and then run the array again, and 49 will go to 51, and we'll pick our object and do it again, and there we are. We've very nearly got there. By the way, let me just go back to array. You do have to pay attention to this number 360. You will have noticed arrayed. I'll backtrack. If you want a positive value, that gives you counterclockwise rotation of the block. A negative value gives us a clockwise rotation. So that's why that we finished at this point here. So all we now need to do is to use the polyline command, and I'll type it, and you should be able to see the advantage of using that spacing for grouting, because we can say we're going to start our polyline there, we're going to come down to here. I could set a running O-snap, but this is nearly as quick, and then I close and fill it, and then all we need to do is go to modify and match properties, pick up the properties of that one and apply it. Whoops. Of course we need to pay attention to that color 32, so close. We set the color 32 and close it and fill it, and there we are. So we're done. So that, although it took me a little bit of time to run through the command, it's all worked relatively smoothly. Certainly a lot easier than putting each one in and rotating it by hand. So it's worth coming to terms with the array command.